Welcome to The Business Fighter with Henry Penix. Henry has been the CEO, founder, and consultant to hundreds of companies worldwide. He retired a multimillionaire, financially independent at the age of 35. Henry grew up a preacher's son and was thrown in jail 3 times for various altercations. He knows what it means to come from nothing and have to fight his way to the top. Henry is the business fighter who will teach you strategic skills for winning in business and in life. Don't just spectate, participate. It's time to get in the ring.
Hi, this is Henry Penix, the business fighter, coming to you with another amazing guest. This particular gentleman, he's a world-renowned motivational and inspirational speaker. He's a visionary thought leader. He's coached guys, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's coached guys like Robert Downey Jr., AKA Iron Man, Charlie Sheen. I've heard him refer to Charlie as one of his boys. He hangs out with people like Oprah. He was doing a speaking thing with Steve Harvey. This guy is amazing. This has meant so much for me to be able to bring him on this podcast and let some of my listeners hear the golden nuggets that he has and he's experienced throughout his life. I think what stands out to me most about this particular individual is his heart for people, anyone, anywhere around the world. And I think that's partly why he's here with us today. Please welcome visionary, thought leader, motivational speaker, Tim Storey. Tim, thank you for being here.
And your real friend.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yes, my real friend, the guy who will talk with me and speak with me no matter what. That's amazing. So you're coming to us from your car today because you had a power outage?
Yeah, which I think that's how life is. You know, you have a lot of things planned, and Southern California does not get that hot very often, but it's been hot the last few days. And in my neighborhood, we had a power outage. And so the great thing about that is I have air conditioning in my car.
Yes.
So I'm coming to you live from my Ford Pinto.
Oh, no. If you'll remember, the Ford Pintos don't get hit from behind. I know you're not in a Ford Pinto, but I remember that big thing. No, I think you're right. And guys, everyone who's listening, please listen closely because you're going to hear nuggets. Tim is the type of guy who will drop things on you that are unexpected, and he'll say more in one sentence than you'll get out of reading 5 books. I really mean that. So I'm so excited. The first thing I want to pull out is him doing this. I mean, last week we had sort of a miscommunication. He thought we were set up for another type of meeting. So he was on his way to LA to actually work on a movie, be in a movie. This guy's got movies, plays, speaking events, everything going on. But yet he called me. Today, when the power went out, it would have been so much easier for him to text me and say, Henry, man, I'm sorry. But Tim, talk about the work ethic that you have and that others need to get things done. And when you execute, you win.
Yeah, I think that, Henry, a lot of people are doing exactly what you do and I do, is that number one, you have a promise of something. In order for that promise to come true, you got to walk by the principles. And then number 3, there's going to always be problems. So I think a lot of mothers that are watching today, that you have a promise of things happening well with your children. You teach them principles, and then problems can come up. It could be in school, could be in their health, could be with their friends. And so mothers are used to solving these kind of problems, and men at work, getting things done. So I was trained well by my mother. My mother had a 6th grade education, but she was very into discipline. You know, I never missed school.
Right.
From kindergarten all the way to high school, I never missed school. And it was just the way it was. And that even though we were lower income, we were very, 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 very disciplined. And so I thank God for that, because it taught me, you know, the promise, the principles. There's a way to get through the problems. And that's part of what you teach on this podcast. And I became a pro at that. And then now I'm able to life coach people for almost 30 years on how to get through situations.
Right, right. And so many people, Tim, you and I have been around thousands of people. We've been in stadiums with 20, 30, 40,000 people watching us, different countries, all that. But doesn't it stand out to you? And I hate to even admit this, but doesn't it stand out to you when somebody actually does what they say they're going to do?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that part of that is that, you know, in your life and in my life, that we've had something called accountability. And so my accountability came early from my mother, because my father had passed when I was only 10. So my mother held us very, very accountable. And then I was fortunate enough to have phenomenal school teachers. I remember my third grade teacher, Mrs. Cook, my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Sullivan, my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Probert. From third, fourth, fifth grade on, I mean, my teachers really held me accountable. They liked my jokes. They could feel my charisma. And I think that a lot of people lack accountability, so therefore they don't get things done as they should.
Right. And that accountability that you learned as a child. And look, if you're past child years and you're into adulthood, you can still make a change. You can change occurs between 6 inches between your two ears.
Very good.
You can make up your mind immediately. You can make up your mind today to make a change and start doing what you say you're going to do. Because Tim, with you went from a low income family to being with kings and princes and executives and some of the most high. I know you don't like to talk about it a lot or say a lot about it, but I'll brag for you because I'm so proud of you. You've been to the top of the top, and the only way you got there was first being blessed by God. I know we both believe in that. But secondly, doing what you say you're going to do, being accountable to the things that you know you have to do, and putting in the work, even if you don't feel like it, even if some days you wake up and it's like, you know, some of those early morning workouts, you're like, why? Like, I love the coffee part of it and I love the driving part of it. But you mean I got to get my butt out of the car and really do something, you know? But you do it, and it reflects in your life. That reflects in your health. When you do things from a business nature, that reflects in your business, and it puts you in front of people like Oprah and speaking gigs with Steve Harvey. I mean, my gosh, you went. We had a saying in one of the companies that I was in, from zero to hero, man. You went from that to be on the top of the mountain by doing what you say you're going to do.
Well, thank you, number one. And I do believe that it's possible to go on the top of the mountain that we're all supposed to go on. And you would agree with that.
Yes.
There's a scripture in the Bible that says, do you see a man skilled at his work? He will serve before kings. So in order to be skilled, as you know, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours that it takes to become a master at something. Okay.
Yes.
So even, Henry, when I look at your life as a businessman, you started off early, just like me, like just hustling and working certain jobs. And those jobs almost could be throwaway jobs to some people, but we allowed them to help us to become skilled. So I was a dishwasher. I was also a busboy. How did you start? Tell me what you did.
I mowed yards. I sold men's clothing. I even had a 3-month stint, Tim, and I don't tell too many people this, that I actually sold women's makeup at a high-end department store. So,
but good. Yeah.
But you know, my next business, I opened up preschools and I employed 300 teachers. 299 were women. And what I had learned by doing the cosmetics, which I never thought in my life I would do, like you said, I thought it was a throwaway job. It was really a stepping stone to teach me about interacting with women. And now all of a sudden I've got 299 employees and they're women.
Okay. See, so I find that interesting. So do you see a man skilled at his work? And then it goes on to say in the scripture, he will serve in the presence of kings.
Wow.
And so I think what happens is that many people, they think too much about the presence of king side. They think about making it or being famous or being a celebrity. But the reality is is that the way you look at life and the way I look at life, that all of us are already celebrated by God. So to be a celebrity means to be celebrated. So we don't have to look to be celebrated. You woke up this morning already celebrated by God.
Oh my gosh.
And so there's no chase for my celebration. I was celebrated when I woke up.
Oh, that is, guys, I hope you're getting this. Oh my gosh, I hope you're getting Henry, the business fighter, trying to bring you some stuff that I don't think anybody else in the world hears. Tim Storey's talking about being consistent in your actions, being celebrated even before you wake up. Tim, I've never heard that from anyone. I mean, I didn't even expect that. Have you ever taught on that?
Yeah. I don't teach on it publicly. It's more of a thing that I studied for myself, because otherwise what's going to happen in a society like this of likes or dislikes or thumbs up or thumbs down on social media, if you open yourself up to that, you can really get your ego hurt. You can get your heart hurt.
Right.
You can get your intentions hurt, your motives, everything. And here's what I believe. I believe that this idea of God celebrating me, and this I have said before, that God's opinion of you makes man's opinion irrelevant. And so I know the guy who's playing on Broadway. Well, he just finished playing the role of the Phantom on Phantom of the Opera. And he was talking about that, you can get 98 great reviews, but get 2. And Henry, guess which ones we're thinking about? The 2
Those
negative.
2. Yeah.
Right? But when you get this idea that you're already celebrated, that you're already held in high esteem.
Wow.
That even the angels think you're amazing.
Oh my God.
And it's because of grace and mercy and position. That when you get that into your system, then it allows you to let your guard down and be a servant. So a lady said to me yesterday, she said, some powerful leaders, they come in like a bear or a lion, and they want to show you right off the outset that I'm a bear and I'm a lion.
Yeah. Who's alpha?
Right, the alpha. And she said, and this lady's quite brilliant, she's an actress. She said, you remind me of a giraffe. And at first, that didn't sound so exciting. It didn't
not in the
sound so
company of a lion and a bear.
Right. So I listened, and she said, if you really study a giraffe, number one, they have a unique perspective because of how long their neck is and what they can see.
Right.
And she says they're always observing. And then they slowly and deliberately move from one place to another, but they're always up to something. But she says, I don't know if you've ever seen a giraffe pick up speed. I said, actually, I have, because I've been to 4 safaris 4 years in a row in South Africa.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell you, Henry, a giraffe can run.
Right.
But she says, but they know where they're going because they had that unique vantage point of the observation before they just took off running.
So good.
And she says, Tim, you walk into a room and you survey, and then you start to say, how should I be with these people? What do they need? She goes, you don't try to come in and say, I'm boss, come to me.
Right.
So that was quite a nice compliment.
That's amazing. And when a giraffe runs, its body is like hauling butt, but that head stays straight and it keeps looking, and it's like always surveying. That is so good. I would take that as a huge compliment if I were you.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I want to get to something real quick. I feel like I could talk to you forever. And again, thank you for the privilege of being able to speak with you and being on the podcast. And for my listeners, I'm going to thank you for all of them right now, because you've already said enough to end, but I feel like we're just getting started. So I want to bring up something really quick. If you've got just a few more minutes. So I've never titled a podcast, and I was jogging last week, and this thing kept coming to me to title this podcast a certain thing. And I want to use the next 15 minutes to kind of speak into this and kind of develop this, but it kept coming to me: the potter, the clay, and the wheel.
Wow. Okay.
So the potter obviously is your creator, and for mine and your beliefs, that's God. That's
Yes.
that's the one who makes us, mold us, and all that. The clay obviously is us. We're the clay, and the wheel is what the potter puts the clay on and controls the speed of the wheel to form and shape the clay into the vessel that it was made to be.
Yes.
And the most important thing, and I read a little bit about pottery making when this came to me, and I don't know where this is going. This is all I prepared. Was the first step is to sort of beat the clay to get it into, get all the bubbles out of it, get it ready to be molded. The second step, and they say this is the most important step, is to put the clay in the center of the wheel, because when that wheel starts spinning, and I envision that wheel being our life, the chaos that sometimes spins us out of control, the most important thing, Tim, is to put that clay in the middle of the wheel so that it doesn't spin out of control if it gets out of the center.
Yes. Okay. Well, number one,
The
you have
third,
hit
the potter
a
takes
subject.
water.
Yes. You've hit a subject that is an amazing subject. So no, go ahead and go through it, and then I will go with you and flow with you.
No,
Go ahead.
please. I'm so excited. I'm getting those chill bumps that we get. So third, the potter puts some water on it to sort of make it malleable and shape it to what it wants to be. And then the last thing, Tim, they put it in a kiln. They heat it up over 1,000 degrees. They put it through the fire to make it strong.
Yes.
Now, I know your mind, your heart, your spirit is racing right now, because mine is too. But let's walk through that. Do you know what I mean about the potter, the clay, and the wheel?
Yeah. So number one, great illustration. And Henry, I'm so interested in this, is that one time I was in Arkansas, in Hot Springs, which can be a very pretty area.
Uh-huh.
And there was a man, and he was making pottery. So he was doing an exhibit, and so I was able to chat with him, and exactly what you're saying.
Mm.
So they smite the clay, they work it,
right?
Okay? They then, as you say, center it on the wheel, and they water it. And the reason they water it is to make it pliable and workable.
Yes.
And so they water it, as you said, to make it pliable and workable. And then what happens, as you know, they then take a thin wire,
right,
and they begin to put it through the clay to look for air bubbles. And this was a really interesting thing when I got to ask this artist. I said, why is that so important? Because when it is put in the furnace, if there are air bubbles, it will either crack or explode.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so how many friends do we know that have cracked and exploded and never got back?
Yes.
See, I've cracked and exploded in some areas of my life, but not completely, because I just had certain air bubbles. I was not just completely filled with air bubbles. But if you do not get the air bubbles out, now the air bubbles are going to come out through the discipline in our lives, the accountability in our lives,
Yes.
the willingness to change, the willingness to have the right partners in our life.
Mm.
See, with just a gift to be Henry Penix, if you were just left alone with just the gift, what would happen is that you can go a long way, but you cannot go as far as life would have called you to go.
I agree.
You need the potter to work the clay,
yes,
and take out air bubbles that we don't even see.
Oh my God. Yes.
So air bubbles were being taken out when you were selling clothes. Air bubbles were taken out where you were selling women's makeup. Air bubbles are being taken out while you're running these gigantic businesses. Air bubbles are being taken out while you're getting ready for the greatest year you've ever had next year. And that's just the way it is, because he's the potter, you're the clay. And then don't forget what it says. He's shaping you as seems best to him.
To him. Oh my. So not how I think I should look, but in the overall plan for my life. And no matter how cracked up I get to be, sitting in the center of that wheel, he controls the spin in my life. He controls the chaos. And the higher the spin, the greater he can mold me to create me what seems right to him, not me, not my friends, not my likes, not my dislikes, as you said earlier, but what
Yeah.
seems right to him for the destiny. I tell people anyone can show up at a destination, but few people show up at their destiny.
Okay, that's very good. And you are saying something that I think is such an interesting part of this is about the spin, because sometimes the power of the spin does not feel good. It's like,
Yes.
hey, master, whoever's up there, I got enough going on in my life. I've got
Yes.
kids, I've got a business, I got this, I've got
Yes.
that, I've
Yes.
got this, I've got that. I don't need this. But there is something about the power of the spin because it helps in the molding process.
Yes, yes, yes. They say the safest place to be in a hurricane is in the eye of the hurricane because it picks
Yeah.
up power and it's spinning. And if you're on the outside and you hit that outside realm, you're going to get destroyed. But if you can be in the center of the hurricane, if you can be in the eye of the hurricane, if you can be in the center of the wheel where you're not going to have centrifugal force flip you off the wheel and be molded and pliable and feel that water coming on you and the cracks that you may have being just so gently but forcefully at the same time being molded to how it pleases him. He didn't ask our friends, how am I going to mold Tim's story? He didn't ask anybody else, how am I going to mold Tim's story? He didn't say what needed to be done to make Tim's story at any season of his life. In Jeremiah, it says, and the vessel he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter, so he made it again another. He made it again another. We can be made in our lives, Tim. We can be, I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, we can be made again another by being in the center of the wheel. And when I was thinking about this, almost if the wheel's going faster, if there's more chaos in my life, that's a clue to me that I'm being molded, I'm being made. So many people want to give up at that time, but they should rejoice and celebrate that they're being molded and those cracks are being healed and things are being done in their life to get them to where the potter thinks they should go, and they should lean into that and rest into that and relax into that, knowing that all things work together for our good.
I love what you're saying, and I think you're giving hope on your podcast. And part of what you're saying today is that you can be 35 and stuck.
Yes.
But it's not too late. You can get unstuck. You can put your hands in the hand of the master and your life in the hands of the master, and he can reshape you, remold you, prepare you at 35, 45, 55, 65, and on and on and on and on. And it's never too late, right, to yield.
Yes.
Because in this whole process, as you know, the clay has to yield. And another thing about the potter is when I was talking to the gentleman that I was watching do the exhibit, he was working the clay and he would put more water on it. And I said, why'd you put more water? Because you'd already put water. He said, because the clay has a tendency to resist.
Oh.
So he says, as I am molding it, it's trying to resist me.
Oh my gosh, Tim.
And so we've all done that. The very thing that was trying to shape us, many times we resisted. It could be a boss saying, hey, we're going to take inventory today at our clothing store, because I worked at one too.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing I wanted to do. It was I worked at like almost like a Levi's store. I'm like,
me too.
Oh my gosh, inventory. We just did that 3 weeks ago. You get my point?
Yes, yes. So you resisted it, but it helped shape you.
Yes. So the many things that we want to resist, of my 6th grade teacher saying to me, Timmy, if there's a word that you do not know, go pick up the dictionary, and learn that word, learn the synonyms, the antonyms, and that will help you in life. I was hooked on that. I do that to this day.
Oh my gosh. And those things that were hard for you, and some things that you even resisted, like I said, the jobs that I've had that I thought were throwaway jobs, like you said, were actually stepping stones to that next thing. And every job I had, or every time in my life, and my life, you know, you hear about me, you hear about you, and people like to celebrate all the great stuff, but I thank God for all the bad stuff. I thank God for the times that I broke, but he kept me in the center of that wheel and keep me spinning and kept me spinning and molded me as he saw fit. Because if I did it the way I wanted to, Tim, I would own the world right now. I would own all the jets. I would own all the cars. I would have all the connections. I would have all my lawsuits settled. I would have all the money that I needed. But that's not necessarily the best thing for me. So if I can lean into life and know first that there's someone spinning the wheel, and try not to resist when I feel those hands on me, asking me to do things that maybe I'm even a little uncomfortable with. And then after all that, Tim, they put it in the fire. They heat it up to 1,000 degrees. Does this boy really have bubbles in him? Is he going to crack, or is he going to hold?
Yeah.
And when we hold, Tim, we win. When we hold through the fire, we win in life.
Yes. I love this. But I will tell you something, because I've known you for so many years, that I feel like something with you, Henry, is that no matter what you're going through, you still bring life with you. Is that, and that's important for everybody that's watching and listening today. That no matter what you're going through, because people are going through something,
Yes.
show up alive. Be alive in your life.
Yes.
And because you're going through two things at one time. You're going through recovery and discovery.
I love that.
Discovery is discovery is the creation of who we're becoming now.
Mm-hmm.
But the recovery is God healing us and fixing us of what we're going through now and what we've been through in our past. So because of our past, we continue to go through recovery. But if you get so caught up in the recovery zone, you'll miss your discovery zone. Wow. And so I will say this again about you, that you show up alive. And thank you for that, because there's times that maybe you have not been doing too well, that I've met with you, and you never came off that way.
Right.
You were alive in your life, and I think that people need to really be that way. And because when you decide to be that way, what you're saying is, I trust my Creator, that I may be going through all these process things that, you know, you're talking about, the potter and the clay, but I'm going to turn out okay.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that is, and like you said earlier, know that you're being celebrated before you get out of bed. You're already winning. No matter what you have to go through, you have that mindset, and no matter what's happening, you show up, you become present, and you get through life alive and offering life to other people. You know, being that example for other people. Tim, this has been more than I could have even hoped for. I love you as a person. I love your teachings. I want to sit and listen to them all the time. For those listeners that are listening in today, how do people best hear your stuff? How do they get in contact with you? And then I have one more question for you after that.
Okay, so it's Tim Storey, and then Storey is Storey. So timstorey.com. And I just want to say we have a new app that came out. You can get it on iTunes. It's called Utmost, like Utmost Living.
Right,
so it's
right.
It's the Utmost app. It's $1.99, but there's probably at least $20,000 worth of material on that app. It only costs $1.99, and it's really good. It's walking you through your daily life and helping you to excel and be utmost in every area of your life. And thank you for letting me say that.
Yeah, no, I actually got that app, and I've been reading it, been looking through it, if I would have to pay for everything that you've put out for $1.99, it would be in the tens of thousands of dollars. That I already know this. I've already listened to it. I know this. I didn't even know you were going to bring that up. But for those listening, go grab the app right now, because it will change your life. It will give you some of the Timisms every day and some of those teachings that will help you be a better person. So to wrap it up, Tim, like you asked me last time on when you interviewed me on your podcast, what's in your heart for the next steps in your life? What's the next big thing that, and I know you've got 1,000 things going on, but for Tim's story, I feel like you've been molded into this vessel that's just shining and sparkling and giving life to others. What do you see the next steps in your life being the next 10, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I think the next steps are where I am right now, and that is to be awake, aware, and very, very open to the needs of others. I'm moved by the life of Mother Teresa, that as a teenager, she paid attention to orphans. As a lady in her early 20s, she paid attention to orphans. Little did she know she would change so many people's lives by just paying attention. And so to me, like never before, I am in the moment. I'm fully present, fully feeling, fully alive. To me, it's not just about projects. It's not just about checklists. It's not just about being on my grind. It's about being present and being awake and open to be used by God to uplift people's lives, whether that be at a store or whether that be speaking in front of a lot of people.
Right. Oh my gosh. So being at the top of the mountain, your desire is to still serve people. And
100%.
Oh my God. That's just when I didn't think the ice cream sundae could get any more tantalizing, you just put the cherry on top. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. This is Henry, the business fighter. We've been with Tim Storey. Guys, I say this, but I especially want you to tune in right now and think about 10 people in your life who would want to hear this. Think about 10 people who this would lift up. I can think of 100 people that I know right now that I'm going to share this with. Go to your computer, take 2 minutes and share this with 10 people that you think it will help, and even watch how that comes back to your life. You know, what you reap, you sow. Some people call it karma. I believe the universe has a way of rewarding us, and everything comes full cycle. Take 2 minutes, share it with 10 people, tell people how they can get a hold of Tim's story, listen to some of his stuff, and your life will be better for it. I'm Henry Penix, the business fighter. You can catch me at henrypenix.com. You can catch me on Instagram at Henry Penix, Facebook, all the social media mediums. Hope to connect with you guys. See you in person sometime. Tim, I want to get together with you sometime and do a speaking engagement. I think if you and I got on stage, and we both have a couple of friends that I'm thinking about as well, I think it would be awesome. I'm gonna push for that. I love you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.